Hello and welcome back to Tag the Assassin's Game by the one with many names. This is Chapter 2. No more eliminations happened after lunch. The realization that both Kirishima and Shiro had been eliminated without either of them noticing had caused every remaining player to go on high alert and avoid each other. Many decided not to eat in the cafeteria. The return to class was a little less tense, but it sure didn't stay that way. No one was quite sure what exactly happened, but Todoroki approached Midoriya, who had vanished the moment the lunch bell rang. Whether it was an assassination attempt or simply to chat, the brunette struck without hesitation. "Holy shit, Midoriya," Shinsou said, watching Todoroki practically cough a lung out after the hit to the throat. Izuku held the ribbon previously clipped to his friend's left lapel, crouched in a defensive position on the opposite side of his desk. He blinked, and some of the intensity left his eyes. "Ah! Sorry, Sho. That was probably too hard. Let me take you to Recovery Girl." On the way out the dorm, he sheepishly handed off Todoroki's ribbon to Midnight, who traded it for a hall pass without a word. Everyone was too stunned into silence. Everybody was stunned into silence. The bell for third period rang. As their last class of the day was Hero Law and Ethics, Aizawa took the opportunity to ask his students how they were holding up. The answer was, surprisingly well. He remembered that when his class did this, one student had something like a nervous breakdown, asking a classmate to kill them just to be done with it. Those who had already been eliminated displayed some disappointment, but none of them were planning on going underground, so they weren't too upset about it. The ones that were upset were those who hadn't yet managed to kill, some more so than others. Baku had been losing his mind every time his classmates were able to survive his very obvious sneak attacks, downside of relying so heavily upon such a loud quirk. Mostly, he just needed to remind them that the point of the exercise was stealth, and they were able to figure it out from there. Though he was very interested in those who had already successfully fulfilled the name of the game and performed actual assassinations instead of just winning brawls. Koda, who had already eliminated 2 people, stood out the most due to the fact that neither of them even realized they were dead until after the fact. However, it was clear that he was using his classmates' familiarity with his shy demeanor to make them underestimate him, which wouldn't work once they were aware of the threat he posed. Uraraka had successfully used her target's distraction to her advantage and had shown good situational awareness by avoiding obstacles while in zero gravity, but was going about this too recklessly. She'd likely be eliminated soon by someone with a more subtle approach. Todoroki, before being eliminated, had shown incredible speed and in incapacitating his victims and an almost flawless defense. Yet, for all that power and skill, he still had difficulties with threat analysis. He expected previous friendships to translate into alliances and approached Midoriya carelessly. Midoriya, who throat-punched one of his closest friends with zero hesitation the second any indication of danger was introduced. Aizawa made sure to slip him a pass to see the counselor after class. When the boy walked out after only 20 minutes looking thoughtful, of all things, Izuku could feel his blood pressure climb. What have I unleashed, he thought, and then later, overhearing Cece on the phone with Nezu saying something about legally eviscerating Aldera Middle School. I'm too young for all these gray hairs. Izuku thought about what the counselor told him the whole walk back to the dorms, but he still hadn't quite figured out his plan going forward. It was quieter than usual when he got there. Pretty much everyone had barricaded themselves in the rooms except those who had already been killed, who were studying together in the common room. Apparently, Uraraka had eliminated Apparently, Uraraka had been eliminated by Yayurozu shortly after class dismissed, and she was a bit bummed, having been hoping to use the extra credit points to bump her literature grade. So when Shoto, likely innocently, asked why she didn't just use the time to study, he got forced to tutor. Izuku took the opportunity to apologize for punching him in the throat, but the recommendation student wasn't upset, only surprised. "I'm actually rather impressed," Shota said. "Even though I startled you, your form was impeccable, and you only hit me hard enough to incapacitate." After several more compliments from those present and some flustered stuttering, he fled to his room to do his homework like everybody else still in the game. It was weird to do schoolwork on his bed, as he normally liked to keep everything separate, but he had jammed his desk chair under his locked doorknob out of paranoia to prevent anyone from picking the lock or kicking it down. Caution could probably still bust in, but he would at least hear the blonde coming down the hall and could flee out his balcony. At 6 o'clock his phone went off, but rather than another screenshot from the dead kids chat sent by Shoto or Uraraka, At 6 o'clock his phone went off, but rather than another screenshot from the dead kids chat sent by Shoto or Chako, it was a reminder: make dinner with Yao Momo. Oh no, Yaoyorozu was still... Oh no, Yaoyorozu was the one who had eliminated Uraraka, wasn't she? He didn't think she had eliminated anybody else, but that was still one kill, which made her dangerous. He texted Uraraka about his predicament, asking for more information. Apparently, on the walk back to the dorms, several of the girls had grouped together, as they usually did when they felt threatened, and Momo had used Ochaku's budding confidence against her. Okay, so Momo seemed to be primarily defensive player, like himself, only killing when the opportunity presented itself and using her target's emotions to her advantage. That's actually a great strategy, he thought. Okay, how could he combat that? Opportunistic killers were the worst, because the only way to prevent them from killing was to completely remove them from the equation. He had to eliminate her. Well, at least this was an opportunity to try what Cece said. What to do? Well, given his reputation, sorry, Shoto, she likely wouldn't attack him unless he made any aggressive movements. His best bet was to act submissive/defensive, convincing her that he was harmless unless attacked, and strike after she dismissed him as a threat, using his target's emotions to his advantage, just like her. The close quarters of the kitchen would work well for that, as long as he was cautious of any traps or hazards. He crept down to the kitchen and quietly pulled out the cookware. They had recently gone shopping, so there were plenty of fresh veggies in the fridge. Stir-fry it was then. He quickly washed anything that needed it and began chopping veggies. Just as he had thought, Momo wouldn't show, still avoiding everybody. She rounded the corner into the kitchen and froze. They stared at each other for a while, and whatever she saw in his eyes, she must not have liked, because she gave him a wide berth. She prepped the wok and started frying up the meat, then started up the rice cooker. After the meat had finished cooking and been pulled off, she hesitated to approach him, so he nudged a plate of prepared ingredients to his left. She took that as permission and took the plate back to the stove, dumping the carrots and onion into the pan, and after a moment gingerly returned it to its place at his side to be filled again. This happened a couple more times, and each time Momo got less tense. On his third time, he reached over while she was next to him to drop the last of squash into the plate, and she tensed for a moment before realizing what happened and relaxing. On the fourth and final plate, he pulled the same move, reaching over with the closed hand, and when she paused to allow him to put the last of the ingredients on the plate, he calmly removed her ribbon from her lapel. She was stunned for a moment, but she gave him a smile of no hurt feelings and took the plate to finish dinner. And if he waited until he took his food up to his room to send a picture of her name tag to Aizawa-sensei, so that she would at least have 1 more point. Well, that was between him and Nezu. Eliminated. Yuga Aoyama, 0 points. Rikido Sato, 2 points. Tenya Ida, 3 points. Anta Siro, 4 points. Denki Kaminari, 300 points. Ijiro Kirishima, 301 points. Shota Todoroki, 312 points. Uchaka Uraraka, 329 points. Momo Yao Yurozu, 345 points.